why the market should go down. Okay. But none of them matter. Okay. Because the market's going up. So what kind of schmuck would I be to give you information that is invalid? Okay. That has no meaning or basis to what we're watching right now. Okay. I mean, here, the NASDAQ, it tried to sell up, but again, sitting in a pocket of consolidation, a little bit behind the S&P. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Well, I mean, listen, that could have some meaning. Okay. I mean, if you look at it, okay, when real markets are really bull markets, usually led by tech, the Qs or the NASDAQ, and also the Russell. Now, the Russells have been extremely weak, and we can make reasons for why, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Okay, the price is weak. The Dow, of course, is up near and probably did the same thing. In fact, the Dow for sure made a new print high today. Okay, but really, where is it? It's really just in that consolidation range. Okay, and was actually lower, and it was actually weaker all day. I mean, if you looked at a short-term chart of the Dow, look at how weak it was all day. Okay, before exploding up to the upside. So, again, we can make excuses, we can make stories, we can sell newspapers, okay, on what the market's going to do, but the market is going to do what the market's going to do, and that's going to be determined by buyers and sellers meeting, which goes back to creating price discovery. It's really that simple, and it's funny. I just came off a hit about the energy supply, and I go, well, what do you mean? We're not. Do you actually think I'm on? Did you send that before I was on TV? Yes, I'm here. You're here. I see you. So you must know that I'm here. At the end of the day, okay. Does anybody here think that OPEC's going to do us any favors? And does anybody really think that Biden basically begging for oil, more production? Do you think they're going to do that? Okay. I mean, again, do you think in your mind, is there any chance that OPEC is going to do us any favors? Okay. And the answer is absolutely not. Why would they? They're in business to make money, just like everybody else. Okay. Only the ignorance of this administration from cutting the oil out too soon. Okay. They acted way too quickly with their overall game plan. Okay. And that is the bigger problem. Okay. Not anything else, but the fact that they acted way too quickly. Okay. So you're not going to see, OPEC's not going to do any favors. I mean, really? I mean, there's no chance. They're going to, listen, they're in business to make money, just like everybody else. Okay. They believe, at least in the upper levels, of free markets. Okay. And right now they hold the control, they hold the cards, they hold the money, and they hold the supply. So there's no chance that they're going to, go ahead and say, oh, well, let's give President Biden what he wants. Let's give him some more oil so that we can, make less money when we know they need it like a lifeline. Okay. I mean, everybody seems to forget if excessive laughter can cause illness, then Biden may make them well. I love you. Think of it this way. Okay. If we could do anything, okay, we could take care of it ourselves, but we don't want to. That's the real point here. Okay. We don't want to take care of it. Now, everything you do has a component of fossil fuels. I don't know of anything that you do that doesn't have some component of fossil fuels to it. Okay. And I don't care if you're the greenest, veganist, all those things that would indicate more green. Guess what? You're still supporting the oil industry and oil. Okay. Because until you have all electric trucks, they still got to deliver the goods to where you're going, unless you're going out to get them yourself and you're walking, you're riding your bicycle. So let's not be so fast at saying that we have to become green and eliminate fossil fuels, because, until we stop drinking water, until we, bottle water, and until we stop flying. And listen, you tell me, give me one thing as a group that you use that doesn't use fossil fuels, okay, in your everyday life. Okay, I would bet you very hard to say, other than sleeping, okay, and that takes fuel too, because most of you have heat or air conditioning. So you give me one thing that doesn't take energy or fuel. Okay, just one. Okay, I'm not asking for a lot. Just give me one. Okay, and if you can do that, God bless you. But I don't think you can. Price discovery is a golden nugget of information. Right, exactly. Okay, price discovery, whether markets are manipulated, whether they're twisted. Oh, look who's here. Happy New Year, my brother. What's up? No, maybe he's not. Maybe his mic's not on yet. Just go ahead and yell out when you're in, baby.
Happy New Year. How are you?
There you are. Happy New Year. We're just talking about, I just got off RT TV and they were talking about oil. And they said, do you think that OPEC is going to do Biden any favors from all this conversation? I said, not a chance. Why would they do anything for him? Okay. I mean, they're there to make money. Okay. What are your thoughts to that?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to squeeze. The oil technically made a perfect higher low. I mean, the thing takes the stairs up and the elevator down. It went down to, I don't know, 27 cents above the support level and rallied, 12, 13 bucks after he released the SPR, which is 50 million barrels, 3 days worth of US consumption. So at the end of the day, oil still looks great, and OPEC ain't going to help out at all. No,
I mean, they have no reason to come on board to give us a break.
The only hope for lower oil prices is if the administration reverts back to what was done before they got into office, and that's very unlikely.
Right, and if they ask me that same question, well, he might be forced to, because listen, everything we do, as I was just saying before you got on, has to do with fossil fuels. I don't care if you're the greenest, veganist person in the world, those goods still have to be transported.
He's not going to do that because he'll find himself running against Stacey Abrams in the Democratic primaries in 2024 if he does that. So you could forget that. I mean, he's going to coast for the next 2 years after they get blown away in the midterms. And, the progressives are going to keep their thumb on him. And that's the green wing of the party. So, OPEC's in charge. They know that. They're sitting pretty.
Right, and they're not gonna make any help or adjustments to help the United States. Forget about President Biden, just the United States in general.
Or China. I mean, they're squeezing China and India and everyone else too. So why not?
Yeah, I mean, of course. Well, listen, when we had the product, we could have used the product. We could have used it to our benefit and to our advantage. Okay,
but OPEC, would you rather sell 1 barrel at 100 or 2 barrels at 40?
No, you and I have talked about this many, many, many times, and I'm in 100% agreement with you. Okay. So I'm just saying that unfortunately, our administration doesn't get the fact that, hey, it's all well and good to want to have a green environment. Okay. But you can't just shut everything down because you say what you want, because you can't.
No, it's a multi-decade process, probably a 40 or 50-year process where you do it slowly. You keep control of the markets that you're going to phase out. And that's the way you do it. But, you don't do it by your first day in office, signing an executive order, closing one of the key pipelines that brings stuff from the oil sands in Alberta down to Nebraska and on to Cushing. And then expect, when the economy comes back, that we're not going to have shortages.
Now, I have a theory. It's a little out there, but I want to ask you what you think, okay? My theory is that they're doing this because they really want to create that major fallout in markets eventually. Because again, eventually the markets can't support everything that's going on here at the way it's going on, right?
I disagree. You know why? Because that assumes that they're smart, and I think they're stupid. How's that?
Okay. So
I think they're stupid. I think that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party has a very big platform, and they're very loud. I mean, I don't know how much support they have, but they're very loud. And I think that, Biden and the rest of his administration feels that they have to, placate them
Okay.
to keep power. But I think the real reason is that they don't understand markets, which means they're stupid.
Right. Well, that's true. AOC
That's
AOC walked to Florida. She took her electronic vehicle that we paid for. I do have one specific question. Somebody actually emailed me and said, would I please get Andy's take on the
Yeah.
euro dollar inversion and what it portends, if anything?
Well, the euro dollar inversion I'm just looking at the euro dollar here. Let me see where.
I should have asked him if he meant the euro dollar currency or the euro dollar interest rate market.
I think it's the interest rate market.
That's what I think too.
Yeah. I mean, look, the bottom line is that markets didn't do a hell of a lot today, except for the bond market, and the bond market sending a signal. And I think that the bottom line is that, it's inflation. And, if we look at, we have to take a step back and we look at what the Fed did in December and their forecast. And their forecast off a 0.9% Fed funds rate this year, a 1.6% next year. Even if inflation recedes, even if inflation halves, which it's not going to, you're still going to have negative real interest rates. Right. And I think that that's what, the TED spread and the euro dollar curve and all those are kind of telling us here. Short term rates are going to stay low, but eventually you're going to have to pay the piper. The day of reckoning is going to come, and the Fed is eventually going to have to say, whoa, enough of this. When inflation gets to crazy levels, if it gets to double digit, you're going to see a slew of rate increases in a very short period.
When you say double digits, you mean when it gets to the consumer, it's 30%. But
when
average is 10%.
But I'm saying when the CPI starts showing.
No, I got you. I'm just clarifying that.
I only am commenting on what the Fed looks at, and that's what they're looking at. They're looking at CPI. We both know that inflation's probably running at between 12 and 15%. If you're a farmer, it's probably running at 25%.
Right.
So, my answer to that question is simple. The curves are showing that inflation is a real problem. Negative interest rates do nothing but continue to fuel inflation. And the fall in the bond market is very telling. The vigilantes are pushing it lower. That's not a surprise.
Right.
What is a surprise is that stocks rallied today with the bond market so low, but we'll see.
Well, again, I think that you've got, I think you're going to see some interest rates, at least the curve and the inversion. We don't necessarily follow all the old models, of when we saw inversions, the 10 to the 30 or the 5 to the 10 or the 2 to the 10 or the 30, everything changes a little bit within the market structure just because of what they're doing and the amount of money that they're flowing into this thing.
Right. And moreover, Bubba, in 2008, Bernanke started tweaking around with the long end of the curve. So you have to assume that a lot of these markets now are very manipulated.
Right.
And far more manipulated than they were before 2008. So, when we were trading, when you were on the floor, when I was upstairs, we were looking at market, we were looking at these spreads. We were assuming that, okay, the Fed controls the Fed funds rate, but the markets control the other rates. But the government, the Fed and the Treasury are much more involved in rates further out along the yield curve because Bernanke made that precedent.
Right. So my point is that it's because of what we have with the ridiculously low interest rates, or as you put it, nominally negative rates. Okay, the stock market's forced to go higher because there's no place else to go.
That's right.
A lot of these things that used to mean something because they were much higher and much bigger, just like for the banks, the spread on lending money is so much smaller, which is why the banks want higher rates. And the inversion means a lot more when the rates are higher, not when the rates are basically nominally.
Yes, very true. Also, we have to remember that inflation inflates the value of all assets. And thank God in the United States, we still have some very, very, very good companies that produce very good goods and technology and cutting edge stuff. And they're making a lot of money in the US and around the world. And the bottom line is that, when Apple's market cap goes over 3 trillion today, for the first time, that's also an effect, a reaction of inflation. It's an effect of inflation. So stock market is going up. We've said before, let's measure the stock market in Bitcoin and see how good it's doing.
Right. And didn't the cryptos hit over 3 trillion and then fall back?
No, I don't think they got that.
I'm not sure.
2.8. I think 2.8 was the high that I remember seeing.
I'm not sure. I thought I saw it somewhere, but I don't know for sure.
But I will tell you this, that if the crypto grows, the market cap grows to the same rate that it grew last year, we'll be looking at a $5 trillion market cap there by the end of this year. And that could, then you start having potential for systemic issues, which could bring up all kinds of regulatory things.
So it's a new year. Do you have any bitches to start the year off with?
No, I want to be optimistic about this year. I think that this year is going to be, I think that what we're going to find is we're going to find gridlock in U.S. government, which I think based on what happened last year would be a blessing. How's that?
No, I understand. I mean, but the gridlock doesn't really come unless obviously as long as Manchin holds out.
Right, Manchin's there, and by the way, even if he gives in on the tax increases, there's no certainty that Sinema is going to give in on the tax increases. So he might still have another negative. We have gridlock. The bottom line is that infrastructure package, which had been floating around for years, will be the only thing that this administration really got through. The real pitfalls for this year that I'm worried about Biden and Putin. I think that's a problem. I think I'm worried about Biden and Z. I think that's a potential problem. And I'm worried about those rogue nations out there, the Irans and the North Koreas, who can create all kinds of problems, when they sense weakness, which, we have shown that a lot of weakness in 2011. But gridlock will help alleviate that, I think.
Are you concerned about this country itself and the interwars? And I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about, there's a lot of bad stuff.
My crime is out of control. On New Year's Eve on the Strip, it wasn't well publicized, but on New Year's Eve, a team of guys, I think they were guys, they went around robbing people in the casino parking lots in the South Park areas, and they killed 2 people.
I didn't hear that.
That doesn't get a lot, the casinos don't like that to get out because it's not good for business. But, there's a lot of crime. There's a lot of people who are unhappy. I'm glad to see New York has a new mayor who is an ex-police captain, so maybe that'll make the situation somewhat better there. But let's see if New Yorkers are stupid enough to elect the failed mayor of New York who gave up his seat on New Year's Eve, governor in the next election.
Yeah, again, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned that we're on the verge of a potential another revolution in this country. I think that if one more bad thing happens, like they try to shut down one more time, or they do some other crazy things, I think you could see the very beginning of a revolution.
Yeah, each day, I think we get closer to the midterm elections. The risk of that is going to go down, because I think that it's going to be a bloodbath for Democrats. I really do. I think it's going to be an unbelievable bloodbath. And I think that, the other party is more of a law and order party, and they'll be in a better position to squelch any of this nonsense.
Well, let's hope so, because again, look, I'm
hopeful. Like I said, I'm going into this year optimistic, and I'm hopeful.
We have the same wishes and dreams, which is to live peacefully, live a good life, have our kids and our grandchildren in the future to have a good life and not have to.
And just to answer a question that's in the chat, what do I mean about Biden and Putin? Well, Putin is he ain't wonderful. He's a demagogue, no question. He's like a mafia chieftain, but he's very smart, and he will push Biden. And he wants Ukraine, and he wants those Black Sea ports, and he wants the wheat market, and he wants that control, and he ultimately wants to put the old USSR back together. That's what he wants his legacy to be. And I think he's going to push Biden because he senses weakness, and he's a KGB guy, and he knows if you sense weakness, you're going to push. And I think that's a risk we see going on.
And I agree with that 100%. And somebody just asked, S&P gains limited to 3 to 4%. Listen, I don't think you can ever.
No, where's inflation? Listen, if inflation goes to 10%, I can see the S&P going up another. What'll it go up? I had it here. Hold on, I got all my numbers because, as you know, I've been like.
Right, well, I'm going to answer in my way while you're looking at your numbers.
Up 27%.
I don't think you can ever put a limit up or down on the market other than the zero. But I think that could we only go up 3 or 4%? We could. We go up 30%. We go up 50%. You go down. You could get cut in half this year.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I expect lots of volatility.
Right, and the longer they push on this crap, the longer this stuff goes on, the harder it is. The more likelihood that we will see a meltdown. We all know one thing for sure. A market meltdown is coming, but is it coming tomorrow? Is it coming next week, next year, 2 years? Nobody knows the final answer. This is like, what was the name of that show, the game show? With I can't remember who, Regis Philbin did it, but the phone a friend. Nobody knows the dollar amount for sure, and nobody knows when. Okay.
Hey, let me point something out that's really interesting. That shows you what inflation was. Which you would, Bubba, what would you say is the index, the stock market index that most reflects the overall stock market?
Well, the overall stock market would be the S&P 500.
Okay, thank you. So the S&P 500 was up 26.89% in 2021. The commodities sector, and that's 29 commodity futures that include, some of the base metals in the UK, energy, soft commodities, grains, precious metals, animal proteins, the 6 major sectors,
right,
was up 26.79%. So a 0.1% differential between commodities and the S&P 500. And that tells me that it's, inflation has been responsible for the rise of these prices, and that includes the stock market.
I agree with that. I mean, I think we've put on that horn for quite a while. I mean, that's what the question you once asked: is the market higher because it's higher, or is the market higher because the money supply and they add so many dollars and it's just inflating higher?
Yeah, the value of the dollar is lower. I mean, again, best horse in the glue factory. It had a nice rally. It was up, over 6.34% in 2021. But you know what? We measure the dollar against other currencies. We don't measure it against stocks or real estate or cryptocurrencies or commodities. When we do that, the dollar fell through the floor this year, double-digit percentage loss.
Right. So, look, at the end of the day, obviously the markets are going up until they don't. There's no level you can say. Now you can look at the indexes. We know that the Russell is the weakest once again, and there's a million reasons why small caps are in trouble. And of course, most of it has to do with many of the policies that are being put out by this administration. Okay,
right. They don't favor the little guy, and and in the stock market, the Russell 2000 is the little guy.
Right, and that's look. You can say what you want, and I don't listen. Again, I'm not somebody that doesn't understand the other's point of view. I think everybody's entitled to their opinion, but you can see that the reason that there's such a hard push for the socialism agenda is to create, the very wealthy want socialism because they take all their competition out and they get to keep making the money. What do they care? And the very poor, but the people who have to pay for it, who fight it, are there and stuck. And this is where the big battle is going to be. And this is why the shutdown was ridiculous. I think even the first shutdown was bad, but that's, again, just my opinion. So, in the meantime, as we look, and I want to go to wheat first, Andy, because obviously you've mentioned many times that this is a very political commodity, and of course we know what's going on in Ukraine and what's going on in Russia right now. And wheat has gotten absolutely clobbered since hitting about 820, and actually has made another lower high on the way down. What is your take on this wheat market right now?
Yeah, I mean, we follow trends, so we're short the wheat, but quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised to see wheat make a much higher high this year as tensions mount. And I don't think tensions are going to ease because I think that Putin knows who he's dealing with.
Okay. Again, that right now,
that's my view.
Okay, that's right up your wheelhouse. Okay, I mean, right now, look, 758. I mean, this is almost a must hold. Now we're short, so it's okay, but this is almost a must hold. Okay, and if it goes through here, it looks like it's going to 720. Okay, now again, we're short, so it's okay with me, but not okay with all the farmers. Of course, the ones that are hedged are very happy, but at the end of the day, I mean, you see some real weakness here versus in the other markets. Now, although corn, corn, look at the difference. These are like you turn these charts upside down. Okay. And corn is holding, about the 590, 585 level without much of a problem.
Yeah, corn is almost an energy commodity today.
Right.
Corn is, I mean, it's the primary ingredient in ethanol in the US. Energy policy definitely favors corn. So, it's not overly surprising that corn rallied with crude oil. Crude oil came down pretty brutally, but it still posted the 7th consecutive quarterly gain last week.
And it was down big this morning, came all the way back again. And so, and of course, the last of the grain group is soybeans. Look great. Look at, they're holding up. Right now, the soybeans, as we'll put in Andy's terms, are carrying the torch for the grain markets right now.
Yeah. And by the way, soybean meal was the second best performing commodity in Q4.
So, I mean, again,
guess what the first was?
We're long corn, we're long beans, and we're short wheat. So
guess what the first was?
What was first? I don't know.
Lumber.
No, oh well, yeah. I never even think about lumber because I've never traded it, obviously. So
up 83%.
I mean, it was when you called the bottom, amazingly. I mean, it wasn't a hard call, but it was a bold call, and it's tripled or doubled. I don't know, either it's going from basically 4 something to 12 or whatever it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the reason we don't trade lumber, but it's the reason we follow trends. I said that, it was overdone down at 488, but I didn't see it going up 83% in the fourth quarter. It's also the off season. It's commentary on inflation. Listen, I think the lumber market's telling us that interest rates are going to go up, and a lot of people are going to scramble to buy new homes this spring. And then you have the infrastructure package. So the demand for lumber is going to be pretty strong.
Can they buy mine, please?
You're not in a place they want to buy.
Right. If
you all long a place they want to buy, but Chicago area.
They don't want to buy. I haven't even got an offer yet. In the meantime, if we raise wages, how can inflation ever come down? Well, listen, first of all, you can't get anybody to work. That's number one. You can raise the wages wherever you want. You can't get people to work for any price right now. I mean, I think McDonald's is paying $16 or $17 an hour. My wife works at Walgreens. They can't get help. Okay, nobody can get help because nobody wants to work. There's 11 million open jobs and 9 million people need jobs, but yet we can't fill them. So, again, inflation is going to be runaway until, in my opinion, there's only 2 ways we solve the inflation. And the one way, which would be my preference, would be to go back to fracking and shale producing, which would immediately bring oil prices down and cut them in half. Okay. Or raise interest rates, which would kill the economy in total. What's your thought?
I don't think we're going to do the first thing because
I don't either.
Well, and I think we will do it, but we're way behind the curve on the rates. And I think that, I think we'll see 1.5% Fed funds rate by the end of next year because the inflation numbers are going to continue to soar. Look, we do have wage inflation, and the wage inflation is going to continue because places need employees, and the only way they're going to get them in is by paying higher and higher and higher wages.
Somebody was talking about corn and the cost. Look, let me say this to you: the oligarchs will never be broken up, and this is only getting it worse until we step up. I mean, there's still plenty of food, and they're not going hungry because we're using food. We're using corn for fuel and sugar for fuel. They're going hungry because they're going hungry. There's enough food if they want to go to work and get a job and feed themselves. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I don't think that the monopolies are going to be broken up because I think that they are the real power base in Washington, and the lobbyists, the Democrats are very, very beholden to the lobbies.
Right.
I mean, the progressives are not.
Correct.
But the progressives they're loud, but they're small. We hear a lot about them because they're very good at social media and they're very good at projecting their voices, but they are not the power base. The power base are the oligarchs.
Right. So the dollar, although we are not,
that's what means that we're not that different than Russia.
Right. And again, this is kind of the direction that we're headed in, is it not?
Yeah.
The dollar is still kind of range bound. We are now short the dollar. A big rally today. I would say probably 96.50 on the upside, 95.50 on the downside for now. And
bonds down, dollar up, bonds up, dollar down.
Right. And of course, the dollar is one of the places that people go for stability, not people, but countries. Okay. And, when there is a little bit of concern out there, and there probably is, you see money flow into dollars because for now, it is still the reserve currency. Okay. So, the euro currency is the exact opposite. And of course, we're now long the euro currency. We reversed both today. Okay. And they're basically in similar patterns. Again, if you turn the upside down, because this is what, 56.5%, or whatever you tell me every week that I forget.
57.6.
Okay, that was close. Okay. In the meantime, again, for my money, I'd be looking at this from 114 to 112.50. And I still say, in my opinion, that the euro currency is going below par at some point. Okay. To me, it's going back to whatever the year was when it was 88 cents. Okay. And Bitcoin, Bitcoin's been holding on or hanging around this 46,000 level. It's kind of been stuck in consolidation. Let's say 45 to 52. There'll be some news. I think there's more acceptance of it. I think it's becoming bigger. Listen, they're now advertising crypto on every major sporting event. Okay. I mean, and you've got
didn't the race car driver who the Let's Go Brandon guy, he couldn't get any supporters, any whatever the companies to back him, and one of the crypto companies backed him.
Right. I mean, look at crypto.com. There's a whole bunch of Major League Baseball had one, and now you saw Matt Damon, who is now a spokesman for crypto.
Yeah, and Melania Trump is an NFT girl.
So, winds of change are building for favor. Listen, Andy and I hope you're right. Okay. We don't like to have to talk negatively about what's going on. We're both from, and as you are, because I know you, but, again, when we were younger, we didn't have some of these same problems. And unfortunately, they continue, when you continue to compound problems as we see them now, they only get worse, especially when you run out of resources to take care of them. So we're both optimists. I mean, listen, you think I want to go through this? The only thing I can say is I'm old. So at least I won't have to live through it, but it looks like it could get ugly. Coco and Joe. So Coco, we're still long, and it's just kind of hovering, but it did lift off. And this was, if I remember from you telling me, the worst performing soft commodity of the year last year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the worst performing soft commodity of the year. It was down 4.8%. almost 5%. And what was it down? Hold on, I got to take a look. It was down just over 3%, and it's the only soft commodity that fell. But you know what? Cocoa's an interesting market, and from my fund, when I put my fundamental hat on, cocoa's one I want to own in 2022.
Right. We own it now. How long we will, I don't know, but we own it right now. And crude oil, again, every time they tried to sell it, it manages to find its way back up. And, here we are kind of chirping around, 74 to 78. Okay. And I think that's the correct range. But Andy and I both believe it's going to 100 easy.
Oh, I think so. And I think this year, the latest 2023, I think we'll see a 90 handle this year in crude oil. Crude oil is the energy that powers the earth. We hear a lot about Teslas, and there's a big market cap, but stand on a street corner and count the cars that go by and count the ones that are run on the EVs versus the gasoline powered cars, and that'll tell you all you need to know.
Right. So look, at the end of the day, we don't have oil anymore. I mean, we don't make much. Okay, we've eliminated it, so we're at the mercy, and that's why crude oil was $30 a barrel, and now it's almost $75, $76 a barrel.
Yeah, it was up. Crude oil was up for the year. Crude oil was up. Let's see, 55%. NYMEX crude oil, and Brent was up 50%.
Unbelievable.
So,
anyways, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. Look, the trend is your friend, and when you step back a little bit, I know we trade shorter term trends. We'll look back a little bit. This has been a hell of a run, and the price is not far from where the highs were. It got up to 85.41 in October. Okay, we came down, but we held the key level, the key technical level. We're back at 76 and change, roughly 76 right now. The market, the crude oil looks strong.
There,
fundamentals behind it.
Here's your COVID day that we went below zero.
Yeah.
And here you can see from this point forward, all we've done is basically gone higher. Okay.
And it's a beautiful Bubba style rally with the right angle and the right trajectory. It takes the stairs higher. Okay, so we have those periodic flushes in the oil market. We had one in November into early December, and it came right back.
Anyway, 74 to 78, my dear.
What are we in? Are we long crude oil here?
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
And cotton is continuing to go higher again, and we were obviously long cotton.
You're also coming in now. Now that it's 2022, you're starting to look at seasonality in cotton, and the uncertainty season comes into play. In the spring, cotton tends to do well in March, April, May, June area. So futures markets look to the future, and that's the immediate future.
And again, it actually held. If you go back not that long ago, it was down around 50 cents, and of course now it's $1.13, and it shows no signs of weakening. In fact, it looks like it's got pretty solid support, about $1.10.
Yeah, it did a nice little consolidation period there in December, and then we headed higher again.
And gold, which we're long, got clocked today.
Yeah.
1800.
1800's been a pivot point for, I feel like, it's like Groundhog Day in the gold market. Every time it goes above, it goes back to 1800.
What was the performance?
It comes back up.
What was the performance in gold last year?
Gold was down. Well, it was up in the final quarter. It was up just over 4%. And on the year, gold was the seventh worst performing commodity, down 3.5%.
And your
silver, platinum, and palladium were much worse. They all were double-digit percentage losers.
Right. And in your history and your watching, it was an extremely, like silver, it was a very tight market last year as well.
Inside year and all it, and not in the platinum group. See, the platinum group, I know we don't trade it, but I will say that the platinum group was really affected by the semiconductor shortage with the automobile sector, and that weighed on it. in hindsight. But silver, silver's a volatile beast, but it's still an inside year, maybe eight
Right.
and a half dollar range. Gold was a nothing year every time. 1800 just has been a magnet for the gold price. But if we go back to 1999, every significant dip has been a buy in gold, and gold. That's why we buy physical, and gold has had long periods of consolidation, very long, year-long periods of consolidation, and it feels like we're in that.
Do you know by any chance what the average yearly range is in gold and what it was last year? I mean, you may not know. I mean, it's out of the left field question, but
yeah, I don't know. I know last year it traded as low as 1650.
right. Last year was one of the tightest ranges in modern history based on percentages.
On
But
a percentage basis. Yeah.
in the meantime, we're long gold, and as Andy said, 1800 is the key to watch. So could it go to seven? Listen, to me, 1790 is solid support. I think 1840 or so is where we have some trouble. We are long. It is pointing higher. And I think the real key for gold will be tomorrow's action. Okay. Today is pretty ugly, but this can be just, sometimes it's just a one-day wonder. And if
and remember also, there's a lot of gold bugs out there, and it's very possible that they bid it up at the end of the year to get a nice mark to market, which, they did. And, so maybe today was all right, get rid of that crap and let's start fresh.
And that's a great point. And the other point to go along with that is, remember, this is the first day of the year, and we came off of miserable volume for the last month.
Right.
So again, we'll see. Like I said, if it breaks below 1790, I might be worried, and we may be reversing. Okay.
The other thing is, as a gold dealer for many years, the first business day of the year tends to be a day where a lot of producers start doing a lot of hedging. They want to get out of the gate, put their hedges in place very early. So we might have seen some of that today.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just a down day. That's all it means to me. Feeder cattle, they still look good, and we're long. I can only say this, okay? In my views, from a fundamental, and I don't talk fundamentals usually, but from a fundamental standpoint, if we don't get some relief in overall inflation, then I think that the cattle markets are in trouble, because people are going to stop. They're not going to be able to afford to buy cattle and, mistake, in other words, and it probably would benefit hogs, because at some point, we're very lucky this year so far that it's been a very mild winter. So heating bills are not, even though they're higher than normal, they're not dramatically higher, which they could be. Any thought to that, sir?
Yeah, well, look, the animal proteins, that's the cattle and the hogs, were up little over 19% for the year. In the fourth quarter, the cattle rallied, the hogs came off. Hogs were down about 11%. But I will say, look, input costs are rising because of inflation, and the prices during the off season for demand have been very high relative to where they've been in past years. So, the bottom line is that the meats are reflecting inflationary pressures. Now, if you're right, and we do get a sudden, correction in these markets, with the input prices are not going to fall that quickly. The ranchers and the producers will just stop producing, and then we'll get even higher highs eventually.
Right. I agree with that. And hogs, look, Andy and I have said it many times. We don't remember ever seeing December hogs in the 70s. Okay.
Right.
And now February is in the 80s. And again, it's actually interesting. It's a little low for February, but it was high for December. But I think that, as they say in the commercial, the other white meat, people want to buy protein, and, it's chicken or.
Let me tell you, let's point this out. If you and I are correct, and inflation for farmers and animal protein producers is running around 20% on the low end, then 80 cents is really 64 cents, which is about the price that we'd expect this time of the year.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. You got it. You got it. In the meantime, we're long, and we'll see. I mean, 80 looks pretty key, and copper, okay, which we are long, and again, copper has been. What makes in your mind over the last month copper so volatile all of a sudden? I mean, we know it can be volatile, but it's been exceptionally volatile.
There's a lot of risk positions in the copper market right now, because a lot of people think it's the new oil, and Goldman's been pumping that. And, a lot of people think that it's the key metal for decarbonization, which is true to some extent. One of the things that really is affecting the copper market is the recent election in Chile. Chile elected a 35-year-old millennial socialist who has a good chance of, making real waves. Chile's the biggest copper producer in the world. Nationalizing the mines, that means production goes down. Raising wages, that means production costs go up. So I think that the political events in Chile, which I think we're going to see a copy of in Brazil later this year because it's an election year there, are affecting the copper market and making it very volatile. I think that election in Chile had a lot to do with the copper market. But
Okay,
it takes 8 to 10 years to bring new copper production onto market. And the bottom line is there's a deficit in the copper market.
yeah, because when I did my update this morning, copper was down almost 10 cents and it closed only down not only, but 4.5 cents, which is obviously some very wild swings in that market, which is not the norm.
Right, but also copper was a market that, what was copper up for the year? Let's take a quick look here if I could find it. It was up 9% in the fourth quarter, and it was up almost 27% on the year. So maybe we had a little bit of goosing at the end of the year to get a nice mark, and maybe they parted with those tons this morning.
Gotcha. And then coffee, which we're short, but I think you and I still both agree that coffee is probably going to get to $3 at some point.
Sorry about that. That's coming through my computer.
No worries.
Get rid of that.
I said that I thought that we're short coffee, which has been going nicely lower, but we still both believe, I think that coffee is probably going to see $3 at some point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think so, but could it go there from 170? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Key support in coffee is about $1.76 a pound. I think that's the high from 2014. Coffee is a wild commodity. It's, these things double, triple, halve, third. They're all over the place. Coffee, coffee supplies are weak because of the frost in Brazil in July. And, an election year, all kinds of things, logistical problems, freight rates, input costs, politics. It's all, it's going to make
drugs
very volatile.
Drug dealers.
Yeah, it's gonna make
lumber. Look, now we went from, if you remember, we went from like 1,800 down to 400, 500.
Feast
right
here, feast.
Right here, Andy said, well, we should probably look to be buyers. We don't trade it, but I mean, that would be, the statement was that we would be buyers if we did buy it here. And of course, is now going back straight up again. And again, indicating probably more inflation. I think to your point, more housing being built, because obviously if rates go higher, suddenly the housing market loses value.
Right. And lumber is telling us that, we should expect rallies in some of the other industrial commodities because it tends to move first. It's an interesting commodity. It really is. It's like a bellwether. I don't trade it. I've never traded it.
Can't trade it because
I'll trade Weyerhaeuser stock, or I'll trade the Wood ETF, which is other paper companies and stuff, because they tend to underperform on the upside, but they follow it, and they outperform on the downside, but they follow it. But, up here, I have no great calls in lumber. All I could say is the trend is higher, and, this is a freak show commodity, and be real careful. And, if you even think about trading lumber, please don't.
Right. And somebody said the thieves are stealing copper from the air conditioner. Listen, as long as it's under $900 worth, they can get away with it. They can walk. Yeah. Live cattle, again, we're long live cattle, and look, it looks fine. I mean, again, it's the same story as feeders, except that these are ready to go to market right away. Natural gas.
Yeah, by the way, the feeders are more tied to the corn price than the live. Correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And natural gas, look, we got a little bit of a rally the last couple of days, but it's not very much of a rally on no volume. And look, we have a position, we've been short natural gas for quite a while. Okay. And of course, at these levels, never makes me that comfortable, because again, if you get a quick snap, you could see, some major movement here. But
so in June 2020, we dropped down to a 25-year low, where Warren Buffett stepped up and bought all natural gas infrastructure. Went from 8% control of the U.S. transmission pipelines to 18%. It was a brilliant trade.
Yeah.
Right now, natural gas, the one thing I'll tell you, I do expect this commodity to make higher lows because of the fracking situation.
Right. Right.
But that doesn't mean that the price can't go below $3.
Right. No, no. Again, look, we're short, and we'll stay short until we're not. But
And,
again,
and remember, in the natural gas market, the winter begins in like September, October, and the winter ends in January, February, because it's
right.
always looking forward. So right now, the market's starting to say, oh, the injection season is right around the corner.
And OJ. And again, we don't care what's going on in Florida. That's really, as Andy will tell you, but we're long OJ, and it has had
Brazil. OJ is really Brazil.
Right. And a dramatic higher. What's making it higher? Is it freezing conditions, and what's the real?
I think it's logistics. I think it's been a little cold. I think it was a little cold in Florida. But the bottom line is these Brazilian commodities have all gone up. Orange juice is no exception. And that's why, listen, I think that cocoa is going to catch that bug eventually.
And is there anything going on with the Brazilian real? Well,
very quiet, 1744, nothing. But I expect a lot of volatility later this year because that's going to be one hell of an election.
Yeah, no, I expect a lot of volatility anyways, and we'll get to that in the next part, but I agree with you. Platinum, look, it's ridiculous. It's on a path to zero, but
it's
again,
a horrible commodity. It's just a horrible, frustrating metal, but I love it. And I buy physical, but it's a horrible and frustrating metal.
I mean, it does what it wants to do, and it's kind of thin, so it can be pushed around a little bit. But again, I think you and I agree it's still a pretty much of a value proposition, and I don't mind.
The only thing I can say about platinum, Bubba, is the next $1,000 is on the upside.
That's what I think. I don't think it can only go down 956.
Right, exactly. That's what I said.
Yeah, so, and sugar, sugar we are short, and again, it's very similar to some of the others. It's trending lower, and 1850 is probably a key spot. What's your overall outlook for sugar?
Yeah, I mean, range trading, we got up to almost 21 cents back in November. We corrected. If we see oil go back above 80, that'll put some upward pressure on sugar here. But right now, it's just in a range. I don't see much.
All right, I agree with you. This kind of looks like the Russell did for a while.
Yeah, it's not.
And silver, which had one of its tightest ranges ever, and we're long silver as well. And again, it got hammered today. But
yeah,
again,
and if I put in a key reversal, you know what? But you know what? Silver's stupid. So silver does stupid stuff.
I mean, am I worried about it? No. I mean, I would say that 2250. If it gets below 2250, I might start getting a little bit nervous. I mean, I don't get nervous, but I might be thinking about it. But right now,
level on the downside, 2141.
2141. There you go. Yeah. And the bonds got clocked today.
Yeah,
which is not a surprise.
By the way, I think that was the most telling market today.
I agree. And they were down from the beginning and never relented all day long. In fact, came very close to closing on their low of the day. Now, we're short them, so it's a good thing. But based on what happened, don't be surprised if there's a little bit of a pop tomorrow. I mean, over the next day.
The bond market is basically screaming at Powell, "Hey, get busy."
Right. And of course, Powell's not going to do anything because he doesn't. That's what he does. Nothing.
No, because he's going to say, "Oh, I'm the Crom. Oh, the employment picture. Oh, he's got 46,000 outs." And then the Oval Office will call and they'll say, "Oh, go easy, go easy. We don't want It's a midterm election year. We don't want to see the markets crash."
Right. Again, this is obviously the Fed, which was supposed to be a private corporation, and it technically is not. Okay, technically it is, but it's not.
They are so far behind the curve, it's not even funny.
And the only good thing about Powell is he's better than Brainerd would have been, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you got Brainerd in his ear at the seat next to him, so
I know. Listen, I got it, but I think he does understand. Look at my thoughts, right? Anybody who goes into the Fed, no matter where they came from, they become an instant moron because they forget about how they made their money. And now just want to facilitate ridiculous, stupid stuff. Okay. So in the meantime, any last thoughts on this segment of the call, young man?
No, I just wish everyone a happy, healthy, and profitable year. And I think that we'll get some interesting trends in markets.
Well, we're going to go into the
I think that
second
the inflation. So the one thing I want to say is that 2008, and we said this for a while, but I'm going to say it again. 2008, it was a model for 2020, and it took until 2012 for prices to peak. And under the same thing, we're looking at 2024 here if history repeats. And I expect more of the same, in the commodities sector for 2022.
I agree. All right, let me stop this recording and we'll start this part 2. Hold on. Thank you, darling. Okay. And let me just put this up and we'll start the recording. And what's up, everybody? Happy New Year if you're just tuning in. And of course, always great to be here. And, I think as we talked about in the pregame, I think there's a lot of interesting things happening. But until proven otherwise, the markets continue to want to work their way higher. And I do think we're going to have a great year this year, though. We had a very down year last year. And for all you futures portfolio folks with CTG, everything was changed this morning about 11 a.m. Central Time. So you are now in the correct portfolios. But, I think we're going to have a great year. Again, like everything else, our stuff works off charts too. Okay. Equity curves, retails, everything in life works from a basis of reversion and so on and so forth. So I think we're going to have a great year this year. And I think it's going to be a great year. And I think there's going to be lots of volatility, which I think you agree with. Yes.
Yeah. I think it's going to be very volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be.
Volatility is good for us. Okay. Could I give? I guess I have to do that for my friend Connie too. I forgot. She's not yelling at me. Oh, she's yelling at me. There you go. I knew it was there somewhere. Hold on one second. I will give you levels in the bonds. Hold on one second. Okay. The bonds, 157 and a half, 157 to 160. Good job. You're good, Connie. You didn't need me. You did it all by your lonesome. Anyways, and of course, I believe we should have an investigation to every multimillionaire in Congress who has accumulated that wealth on a congressional salary using our tax dollars. How's that? Okay. What do you think of that? All right.
Good luck.
The president, Joe Biden, and his wife, Jill, have earned a net income before taxes of $6 million, yet they're worth $120 million. They must be the greatest investors ever. Okay. Anyways, and of course, as we always do, we thank our veterans, and Jesus, they're busy. There's a lot of stuff going on for our public servants, man. There is just not a lot of good stuff happening, as you mentioned about the strip and everywhere. I don't know, Andy, this stealing and this, little bits that we don't ever hear about it, but it goes on everywhere. Okay. And thank God for our public servants and of course our veterans who got us here. And unfortunately, they might have to be called to duty again, but we thank you and we thank your families. And of course, those are active as well. Biden wants to woke up your doctor. Now, I don't know what that means. I do know what it means, and it's got to do with racism. Now, are the doctors racist too now? I know that John Madden, who unfortunately passed away this week, they called his game a racist game. Okay. Are the doctors racist too? Who's not racist?
Everyone's racist.
Okay. This is ridiculous that, that the things they say, okay, about our people. Again, is there some? I'm sure there is. Okay. But are they generally racist? I don't think so. I think that, they take their patients and that's it. Now, in today's world with the criminal insurance companies, they gotta be so busy they can't afford to turn anybody away because you get 15 minutes and you're out because they don't make any money anymore. So I don't know. Okay, Biden actually admits the truth. There is no federal solution. Well, gee, it only took how long to figure that out? Okay, if the Fed has to solve this, Andy, with higher interest rates, okay, from here, what does that do to the economy?
It tanks it.
Yeah. Okay. So they can't. Between our own debt service and between everything else, You cannot hike rates here.
Yeah, but, you know, inflation is a very difficult beast to tame once it starts moving. And just because they're going to come out and they do 50 or 25 or 50 or 75 basis point rate hike, it's nothing with where interest rates are. Nothing.
Right.
So it's a very difficult beast to tame. And yeah, there's no Fed solution either. The only solution is really to, as you said in the pregame, you know, you can attack it from the root, which is energy, and we could start producing energy again, but that's not going to happen.
No. And of course, Bernie Sanders tells Warren Buffett to pay his workers better. And Warren Buffett is not my job. I mean, you know, where do these people think the money comes from? Okay. Does money grow on trees?
It just it does it grows at the Fed.
I mean, where does he think, you know, you can't get help half the time anyways. And restaurant owners, God pity them, what they're paying, because they don't work on that big of a margin to begin with. Okay. And yet, you know, here's a guy opening his mouth, the biggest taker ever. Okay. Says
Bernie would like to see the workers own all the businesses, and then you'll never get any decisions, and then you'll never get any profits.
Right. I mean, to me, it's going to be this is a problem. What's going on with this inflation and everything else is a problem, especially for restaurant owners. And we have a bunch that are with us. Okay, this is a very serious problem. And the help that they have to pay for is out of control. Okay. And of course, Kamala Harris, I don't know if anybody heard her answer when they asked her about inflation, but it was a 1 minute and 51 second clip that for 1 minute and 43, she stammered and stuttered and didn't know how to answer it. Okay. And then she didn't give an answer when it was all done. Okay. So this is our leadership. Okay. Our Trudeau is no gem. Well, we know that. I mean, again, we recognize that the world leadership is not very good right now. Okay. And of course, which is why Putin is gaining strength and China is accelerating their 100-year plan, and OPEC.
The sharpest packs are in Beijing and Moscow.
Yeah. So, you know, these things are very, very serious to what's going on. And these are our leaders that are dictating policy that have no understanding on how markets work in general. Okay. You know, there's an old saying about markets. Asset classes will price themselves if you leave them alone. Okay. Very simple. Okay. In the meantime, words of wisdom from our friend Connie, and we're glad she's back. And welcome back, my dear. I hope those dark chocolates were good. Okay. Happy New Year, boys. I thank you. Globally, there was a $26 trillion in stimulus during the last 18 months. Inflation is not just a U.S. problem, it's like global, and will be with, yes, agree, 100%. If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. Okay. And again, we talk about this at a regular basis about just because I teach you doesn't mean that you don't have to try to continue to learn. Okay. You know, learning in this business, especially the investing, trading, options, stocks, futures, the education is so important that you understand so that you can calmly and rationally look at the markets at all times. Okay. Now I know you thank me. I just wanted to make sure you're doing good. I'm on your side, huh? Okay. And of course, her new category, the State of the Union, and that is freedom is not a reward for compliance. That's how jails work. So, you know, as they say, you've done it again, my dear. So, any comment to that, sir?
No, it's good comments. Good quote.
And of course, I've been bitching for an hour, but I get one more. And it's not a real bad one. It's just, you know, I don't know how many times I have to tell you how to learn about leverage and what it does and the danger behind it. Okay. It's easy to leverage yourself up, and it's great when you're making money, but there's a big problem when you're not. You lose it so much faster, you can't understand it, and it makes you do dumb things. Okay. And I go over this so regularly, and you know, someone emailed me over the weekend and they go, well, I don't understand. Well, because they were leveraged at 10 to 1. Okay. How can you think that you can be leveraged at 10 to 1? You can't, you'll get killed if you don't have capital behind that. Leverage is great if you understand how to use it. But if you put yourself in a position of failure, you're going to fail. Okay. So you must pay attention, which goes back to learning. It goes back to everything we just said. Okay. In the meantime, as I said earlier, the S&P, actually we'll go Dow first. I got to remember my
Do
right
the
order.
bonds. Do the bonds.
Oh, I did the bonds. She got them.
Okay.
The Dow, which we use the Dow Future Yankee Michael, and of course we're long, and of course it's really in consolidation. It did make a new print high, but not a closing high today. But certainly to me, I would say, I can only give you 36.2 to 36.5. Now that's a pretty narrow range for something that can move $300 in a heartbeat, or 300 points in a heartbeat. But that's it. But I would not be a seller anyways. I mean, we're only a buyer right now. And the S&P, Echo Sierra, okay, same thing. It's hard to tell. It looks like it made a new print out today. It's in the same pattern. We're long, and it's 4760 to 4800. Okay, 4800 seems to be like a really big stumbling block here. Okay, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Okay, again, there's even if we're going much higher, there is still always some pause in markets. And the NASDAQ, which has been a little bit weaker, but still very strong, right? We're still, the three indexes, S&P, Dow, and NASDAQ are still pointing higher. Now this is in consolidation, probably 16.3 to 16.6. Okay. And again, these things can fly in either direction. If you weren't watching this morning, we were actually down at one point in the NASDAQ, I don't know, 30 or 40 points before closing up over 150. So it's, again, you're going to see a lot of this wild price volatility. And the price volatility does not necessarily equate to the VIX. Okay. Remember, there are different forms of volatility. And the Russell, which we are still short, that is the one we are short, and it still looks weak. Now, again, it has built a better pattern, but still 2280 looks like resistance, but it does look like support has crawled up to probably 2220. Okay, but we are short, and the pattern still suggests it's really just consolidating again. So we'll see, because actually, if you go back and look at this from here, other than the break to the upside, we've really just been consolidating for almost a year. Okay, and the VIX itself, at one point it was higher. It did get hammered late. Okay. And again, it appears that you were correct, sir, that about 15, 16 is the new bottoms for now.
Yeah.
And I would suspect that we'll see a pretty good spike in volatility one of these days on an implied basis, which would be just probably a quick sell-off here or there, in the next, I don't know, couple of weeks, maybe, maybe next week. Nobody knows when, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that. What about you?
It could come tomorrow. It could come next week. It could come next month, but it's coming.
Right. And again, of course, in our stocks that we look at, of course, Apple, which unfortunately we're still short, but I would suspect that will not be the case tomorrow. I suspect we'll be reversing that tonight. So it's hard for me to, when I know in my mind that it's going to reverse, it's hard for me to give you resistance levels. In fact, I think the new high, I think it's hit over 3 trillion today. I would look at this at 176 support until further notice. Obviously, you'll have the trades before we open, so you'll know. But I wouldn't look to be a seller right now under any circumstances. Alpha Golf, a silver play. Here's the way I look at this. This is very much in the same vein as the pot stocks we watch for a shot to gamble. And I wouldn't gamble here. It's in a downtrend. And this is going to go into one of the new portfolios, into the metals portfolio. But certainly I wouldn't be uncomfortable if I own this stock down here at these price levels, because I certainly believe that silver itself will go up. And I think, owning a stock is sometimes better. I would not be, putting a long-term option plan here. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, it silver looks lousy, but listen, if you feel like you have to buy silver here, this is not a bad stock to play.
No. So again, I'd be watching the
It's gonna
10.
give you leverage. Listen, if silver goes up 10%, this thing could go up 20%.
Right. And AMD Alpha Michael Delta, which at the moment we won't be trading it anymore, but it's still long, and of course it's just in this range. 145 looks like really great support up to 160, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, look, these tech stocks are continue to lead the way, which is more bullish than anything else. The time to be concerned is when the Dow stocks start to lead the way. Okay, that's never a good sign. When the Dow is leading the way, that is more concern. Okay, and BABA has been wickedly wild, and notice it went all the way down, and then once again it popped up. Okay, and then here it is drifting, and we're long BABA, but it's really just in this range. I mean, I don't.
Any word on Charlie Munger's position?
Not yet. It's coming out soon, though.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure he sold it all. No, I'm sure he sold a big portion of it, way up there after the announcement came out. I'd bet on it. 110 to 130, and that's a big range. But listen, you're in a very volatile time, especially in a stock like BABA that you've seen make $10 moves, 10% moves in a day. Okay. Bido, which is, again, we have not made a trade in this, nor have we even made a call on this yet. But again, it is one of the new ETFs that is tied to Bitcoin. Okay, and the Bitcoin future, not the Bitcoin soup, which is next, but strictly to the future. And what I'm really curious to watch is how they account for everything. The trading cycle in the crypto futures is a little bit different than other cycles at the way that they force you to trade at a certain time, and they basically only really have activity 1 month at a time. So it's kind of, we got to kind of figure it out. But again, this is we cover these for those who may want to play in the crypto space. I'll get there in a minute. But who may want to play in the crypto space but aren't ready to go into the crypto wallet business yet. The hidden stuff, so to speak. Okay, which is why we cover these. I mean, my sentence on AG was just, I would be a buyer if I were going to take a shot at it. If I was looking for an inexpensive way to play the silver market, I'd be a buyer of AG. Okay. And then BitQ, which is Bitcoin soup, which is continuing to get hammered right along with Bitcoin. But again, it has, very similar to Bitcoin, has found a level. Okay. Now, again, I can't tell you. I mean, I think that Andy and I are both big believers in Bitcoin itself, in the crypto world itself. And we think it's real and it will be here. But it doesn't mean that they have to go up today. And is this going to be support? Well, again, to me, I would buy more and probably will. I own it already, but I'll probably buy more around here. Okay, as a trade, as a hold. Again, because I'm not selling it. I'm holding it because I do believe that cryptos are going much, much higher. Any thought there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, this is, I like the pick and shovel plays, and that's what this thing is. So, I think that this is probably down your support here.
And then Charlie Golf. Charlie, look, this is a pot stock. We've been covering this for, basically we had it in one portfolio, and we're covering it for only one reason, really. And that is, again, a play on pot and a play on federal legalization. But I think we've come to the conclusion that they're going to let these stocks burn out. Okay. Any takeaway from the rally? It was up like 10% at one time today. Anything? Is that just a natural bounce? What's your thought there?
Yeah, I think it's just a natural bounce, maybe beginning of the year. Last year, at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of like hoopla around the pot stocks, and they all went, ballistic and early in the year. And, maybe they think the federal government is so hungry for revenues that maybe they'll get a repeat performance.
And to your point, last January 27th, actually the high was last February 11th, CGC was at $56.
Yeah, trades like lumber.
Mm-hmm. About that liquid too. In the meantime, again,
it's more liquid than lumber.
I think that this will probably come out of this list as well. We might keep something just in case, but it appears to me that Andy was right with his saying that they're going to be until Altria and Constellation Brands and those guys are ready. They're going to let these small independents get burnt out and lose everything.
Right, and then it'll be just like a pimple. They won't even be reflected in the stock prices. It'll be, it'll be a non-entity, right?
All those infrastructures will get taken over like Bear Stearns.
Exactly. Exactly.
Chewy, Charlie Hotel, Whiskey Yankee, which we do have, and we are still short. And it had a nice bounce off the bottom, but 60 continues to hold resistance. The good part, I could say, if you're long it or looking to get long it, is it looks like 56 is new support, which could be an indication it's going higher. I mean, it's certainly come down dramatically, as many of these plays have. And listen, Andy and I are both customers of Chewy, and they're a great company, but it doesn't mean that they have to go up tomorrow. So at the moment, we're still short, but I would make this 56 to 60. And coin, very much like Bitcoin, and this is actually going into one of the portfolios as soon as we get everything ready. But coin is, again, it looks just like Bitcoin.
It's very interesting. The stock is sitting right at the pre-issue reference price, which was 250.
No, the pregame is over, son. I mean, again, at the end of the here's the end of the day. The end of the day is that the bookmakers perform better in a bull market too. Okay, they get more business when people are buying them and chasing them up. Okay, and Coinbase, which is a bookmaker, for the crypto space of the broker, they will benefit from higher prices. Okay, so right now it's been pretty stagnant along with Bitcoin. I mean, to me it looks like 250 looks pretty solid, and it's probably 250 to 270 for the moment. Okay, Curl F. Again, this is another pot stock. This one, it couldn't even go up today. This is a big retailer, and I assure you, if you live in an area where pot is legal, and if you look at one of the retail stores, if it's whatever the name is, if you see underneath the name, many of them, and almost everyone I've ever seen says Curaleaf underneath it, which is this company. But of course, again, they could get. It looks like they want to get burnt out and skinned, and let the Altria come in and take over all the infrastructures that they built. So I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with these yet. We don't actually give levels on here. And certainly I can't even in good conscience say to buy any of these for the gamble play, because I don't know that the gamble play is going to work out. I don't know that they're going to, the pot should have been federally legalized years ago, even when President Trump was in office, and he didn't do it. And now with the policy that they want to do now, they don't want to do it. So it's apparent that they're waiting for the lobbyists and the big money, and then they'll do it then. And I think you agree with that, yes?
Yep.
Okay. And DraftKings, to me, I will say this. It looks horrible. Okay. We're shorted in the portfolios. I'm long it myself. Okay. I think that to me, this is a very good bottoming pattern. And it may not make a bottom here, and I understand why they're under so much pressure, and they're coming out of their biggest season, which could be another issue. But the real problem is their acquisition costs are so high to get a new customer that they can't make any money. Okay, that doesn't mean it won't go back to 60 or 70. Again, right now the trend is certainly lower, but I'm not afraid, and I'm debating on what I want to buy tomorrow. I'm going to hedge it anyways. But for today, it looks like 26 to 30, and it isn't a downtrend. We are short. Okay. Fast, which we are removing, or, as soon as everything's ready. And of course, big volume day today up. We are shorted. Okay. To me, it looks like, 135 would be a great spot to take a stab at it. If you want to, if you're looking for something to do here, I would not. The reason I got rid of it is because it just doesn't have as much liquidity as I would like it to. And there's other ways to trade the banking industry other than this triple leverage thing that we have here. So, Facebook, Foxtrot, Bravo. Okay. We're still long, and it's up here hovering. It's kind of mid-range, right? The high was 380, the low was 300. We're at 340. Okay. So to me, it looks like 335 is pretty solid support. 355 is probably the resistance. And again, it's waiting to make a decision, okay, of which way it's going to go. And certainly, it's going to go, with the markets in general, and it may lead. But I think that you probably could see new highs here at some point. Okay, because again, the metaverse is or it's called Meta now, right? That's the new name. So, and First Solar, Foxtrot, Sierra, Lima, Romeo is just dead nuts in consolidation. I mean, this is an unbelievably tight range. This is telling you that a very big move is coming. Now we're short, okay? And I'm not saying that it'll break to the downside, but certainly I will say this, that I would expect soon a 10 to 15 to 20% move in this stock in either direction. I would not be surprised. Okay, this is.
I think if there's a compromise on build back better, you might see this stock pop.
It could be. I mean, you've got obviously what you really have here is the bulls and the bears are fighting dramatically in very tight ranges here, and they can't. Neither one can take control. And so we're gonna. And I think that this is building more compression, which will then lead to making it go bigger. Okay. Who's the anonymous attendee asking me before I answer anything? Okay. I don't answer anonymous. So if you want to tell me who it is, I will answer. In the meantime, GDX, which again, I don't trade it. We just kind of carry it for some representation of gold. And that's for people that, may not want to trade the gold markets themselves or the futures. It's a holding of many. Okay. I think a lot of people hold GDX in their portfolio, do they not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's, listen, it's leverage play. Mining stocks tend to do better on the upside and worse on the downside. We saw that again in the fourth quarter. And it's just the way, these mining stocks are. So a lot of people like them because they're kind of gold, gold on steroids. And then you have the other ones that are, those leverage GDXs that are gold on double steroids.
All right. Goldman Sachs, Gulf Sierra, again, nice little pop today. And, obviously, if they think rates are going higher, that only benefits the banks. Okay. And when banks benefit, they go higher. And of course, banking is the only industry that never loses money. Okay. If they make bad loans, they get bailed out. And if they don't make bad loans, they make money there. So it's like a no lose business. In the meantime, overall, it's in a long period of consolidation, and we're still short. And again, I don't know whether we'll still be short tomorrow or not. So I don't know. I won't give you anything right now. We'll see. And of course, those who participate will know in the morning, or actually at 3:00 in the morning. IWM, India Whiskey Michael, which we are still short. And again, this was not anywhere near as strong. Now, it made a number of attempts to really catch up to everything else. And at the end of the day, it ended up okay, but it's really stuck, 224 to 220. 222 to 226. Mara, Michael Alpha, Romeo Alpha is my partner here who knows this stuff better. No. Okay. Well, in the meantime, this has been really struggling right along with Bitcoin. This is a miner. Okay. It's one that we watch. Again, to me, probably 30 to 32 would be a buy spot. Probably to 30 to 40 would be a pretty good level to watch it. Okay. And certainly, again, if you're bullish Bitcoin, this is a way to kind of play it. Okay. If you're bullish the Bitcoin, okay. I will add, your question was, let me go back for a minute. Can you comment on the removal of FAS and AMD since they impacted so many adversely? Well, again, they weren't that bad, but it just, I felt that there was better replacements for those stocks and to reduce the overall portfolios, because my belief is we're going to have a monster year this year. My belief is that we're going to have huge gains in our portfolio models. Again, I base this on, if you read Saturday's report, which is the statistical anomalies that do happen every 7 to 8 years. I think we had one, and typically the recovery is at a very dramatic pace. So what I really want to do is I want to lower the overall value of the portfolio so that we didn't have the leverage in play, so that we were in a position to be able to press faster and take benefit of what I expect to be a monster year. And so that is why some of them were removed, is to allow me to give us a much more power to buy without having to have as much capital, which means that anytime we get the movement that I think we're going to get, we'll have great opportunities to press up and compound our equity or futures portfolios, which is why we reduce a lot of the values, because again, a lot of people were stretching to stay at the right levels, and it was very hard to do. So that was how my process of elimination. Okay. And again, I look at the volatility and the way they trade and the cost of the trades. And so those were a couple that I thought we could do better and use our capital elsewhere. Okay. MSOS, Michael Sierra, Oscar Sierra. Again, this might be a play. Again, I'm not buying it now. This is a ETF on pot. Again, I'm just thinking, and that they're probably not going to do anything. And I think we'll see. And it's not like I'm not an email away from saying, hey, it looks like something's going on. And if we continue with some positive action tomorrow, then maybe something will be going on. And maybe I'll send out an email. But right now, we don't trade this yet. We just look at it. And NEO, November, India, Oscar. Okay. This is, Chinese EV. Okay. And we remained short. Yeah, it had a little pop the other day and it tried to finish today. But here we are. Our rate resistance is about 34. And I would actually say 35. I would make this, 30 to 35 right now. Okay. That would be where I'd be watching 30 to 35. But you can clearly see the trend is lower. Okay. Despite the energy policy, despite everything else, the trend is definitely lower. Yeah, of course I will. Just remind me and I'll be happy to look at it. Okay. Nugget, November, Uniform Golf Tango. Okay. It's kind of like, just like gold, it's kind of in mid-range. I didn't get hammered as badly as gold. But I would certainly say, to me, I'm looking at this probably 48 to 52. 48 to 52. And since we're long gold, I'd be more inclined to want to be a buyer here. Okay. And NVIDIA, okay, which we are short, and NVIDIA, popped nicely, gave back some of its gains. Okay. At the end of the day. Now, again, we'll see how it looks and how it works out. It's kind of mid-range, right? I mean, if you look at it from this standpoint, what do we know from here? We know that a much bigger move is coming. And the real question is which way will the bigger move come? And my guess is, based on our position and based on our algorithm, it will be lower. Does that mean I'm right? No, it just means that I'm using what I know and what I have versus just saying, oh, it's going higher. I right now we're short. So my assumption is the weakness is to the downside. Okay. Penn, which is another gambling stock. Now, Penn seems very similar to DraftKings. It seems to have found a little bit of bottoming action. Okay. But it is in a much wider range. I would look at here at this probably, 48 to 55. Okay. We do have a position in this, which is short. Okay. And have been short for quite a while. But it does look like some of these are at least attempting to see some bottoming action. Now, again, we're still short, so I'm not telling you to go out and buy it. I happen to own it because I believe in the gambling stock space. Okay. But I understand why they're struggling, but I don't mind holding them and hedging them anyways. Okay. The Qs, Quebec. Obviously, it looks just like the future. No surprise. We're long. And to me, I would be looking at 396 to probably 403, which is right at the high. Okay. Again, I'm not looking to sell this yet. When I get a negative short sell, I'll sell it. Or if we get a blow off pattern that says I can sell it, I'll sell it. We trade live futures in the morning, a group of us. And again, we trade either side. We don't look at the side. We're trading the pattern, which is obviously all we really care about. Okay. Riot, which is similar to Mara, and it's interesting for those who don't remember or weren't here for that. At one time, Riot was well over Mara. Now Mara is well over Riot. They're basically the same. I think only their location is different. They both look like crap. Okay. Again, this is a way to maybe play the Bitcoin space. I'd look at 22, and to me, this is probably 22 to 26 right now. And these things can fly when they decide to. Okay. Now that's always a big question: is when do they decide to do so? Okay. So 22 to 26 in Roku, Romeo Oscar Kilo uniform, which are long. And again, this is very similar to First Solar and others we looked at. It is suggesting that a much bigger move is coming. Okay. And based on our position, I'm going to assume it to be higher. It doesn't mean I'm right, but we've seen the blast off in the streaming TV and all the other stuff. Look, I don't know. I mean, it looks right now like it's just stuck in molasses or in quicksand and it's not going anywhere. So, but at some point it will move, and the longer and the tighter that this range is, the bigger the move is going to be in either direction. Okay. But for now, 220 to 230, which is almost laughable for that stock, but that's what it is. Okay. The SPY, Sierra Papa Yankee, obviously up near the highs, kind of churning. To me, this looks like it's 425 to look. I'm not a seller, but 480 would be some natural resistance. Typically when they're making new highs, there are some natural resistance at 80s, 90s, and then of course 500 when it gets there, and it will, I'm sure. Okay, but we're only buyers right now. Square, Sierra Quebec, again another stock that's in a bottoming pattern which we are short, and but is it now making a bottom? It's hard to say. The overall trend is lower, and we're seeing a dramatic. Now, of course, what percentage of Bitcoin would you say they're involved in, Andy?
I think that their R&D is heavily into crypto. I think that they're, as a payments company, I would say maybe it's less than 10%.
Okay. So listen, it's a great payment company. He's a great CEO, like him or not. But again, the stock had a dramatic move up, and now we're going to find out, where it's at. Right now, it's consolidating. We're short, and I would look here. I would suspect 160 to 170 for now. Tilray, which is again just a pod stock that we only covered to potentially gamble on. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not even interested in gambling on these things anymore. It's like a donation into the ocean, throwing your money away, because they don't ever seem to be able to rally. And either one of two things is going to happen. They're either going to all go out of business, and then the white knights are going to steal them like they did Bear Stearns, or there's going to be some sort of announcement, and we'll have plenty of time. It's not going to be a one-day deal. Okay. If it comes back to play, but right now I wouldn't do anything. I would watch it if I wanted to watch it, which I will, but I have no interest in getting involved nor gambling in these, because it doesn't appear that the odds or the probabilities are in my favor right now. Okay. Tango Quebec, which will be no longer traded, but we are still in it at the moment. And of course, it is still long. And again, it looks a little bit weaker actually than the NASDAQ itself. Okay. But it is in that same little bit of consolidation pattern. I would look at this at probably 160 to 175. And Tesla up 150 bucks today. There must have been obviously news today.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk is done selling.
Okay, so I mean, really, look what do you got. You went to 920, now you're popped up in basically 2 weeks. We'll see. Again, I don't trade this anymore, but if I'm looking at it, to me, it's probably
stocks when insider selling stops, they tend to drift higher. So I mean, he put a lot of pressure on this stock in the last couple of months.
He had to pay $12 billion in taxes that Elizabeth Warren said wasn't enough.
Right. So obviously it's a new year, so it doesn't have the same issue. So
record deliveries, and they sold more. Okay, whatever. In the meantime, 1100 to 1200 would be what I'd be watching. 1250, the new high, whatever. And VXX, which we continue to be short and it continues to go down. I'm getting very close to making a gamble trade here, though. This is getting me interested. Okay, at a spike in volatility. I mean, volatility is basically just falling off the face of the earth. Right now, there is no real support. I would say that resistance is at probably 20. Okay, and again, but I may issue again. That's for people who want to gamble only. This is, occasionally, volatility gets so low that it's almost inevitable that it has to have a pop. Okay, and we're getting to that point where I'm thinking that's close. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, when's the next split coming?
Well, that's what I'm kind of waiting for, but usually it's around 10. But we'll see. Again, I'm not doing anything with today. We're still shorted, but I would be, again, the only reason we have it in the portfolios is not for the short side. We have it for the long side for when we do get those big moves in volatility.
I mean, listen, the VIX is getting to a level where it's interesting.
So
watch risk reward.
Win, wait, whiskey Yankee, November, and we're still long. And again, look, it's not doing anything spectacular, but it is trending higher. And I would say that probably 90 is a key level that needs to bust above. And if we can get through there, it's probably going to 100. Okay. And if we can get through there, remember, this was, I think, a $200 and something stock at one point. Okay. I don't remember when, but it wasn't that long ago. There you go. Okay. Now, again, I'm not saying it's going there. Remember, they have a lot of exposure to Macau and in China. So that'd be something to think about and watch. But again, the trend is higher and we're long. And Zoom, okay, which we remain short. And again, you've noticed, or maybe you haven't noticed, but many of these stocks are in very tight consolidation patterns, which means they're either resting before they continue the current move, or they're getting ready to make a reversal and a big move. So we'll see. Again, I don't know the answer to that. I can just tell you that when you get a range, when we're watching a stock that usually we have a $50 or $60 bit range for support and resistance, and now I can only give you $180 to $220. That tells me that something much bigger is on the road and on the horizon. Okay, so somebody asked me to look at Moderna, Michael Romeo, November Alpha. And this continues to struggle under pressure after peaking at just over, I think was it 500 did it get to? And, it looks pretty bad. Okay. Now, again, it's on some support, but remember, all the news from Moderna is out there. I mean, what else can they tell you? Are they going to create another variant so they can create another booster shot? It's like, why is Africa so high and why is nobody vaccinated in Africa? Because they're never going to be able to be customers. That's why. Okay. But again, look, we picked this stock out when it was 60. Okay. And said that they would be involved heavily in the vaccine. Well, again, I don't know. Is it still an issue and can it continue higher? I think it probably got a little bit ahead of itself. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think, listen, the pandemic, it turns out that this Omicron is a lot less devastating than, Delta, which was less devastating than the first one. So
Right.
At the end of the story it seems like this pandemic is playing its course. At least let's hope so.
Yeah, I think so.
And, that takes the upward pressure off these drug companies.
I think you're right. I think it's much less serious, even though
much less lethal. I mean, listen, I know people who've had this Omicron and it's like a cold.
Yeah. First Solar, Connie, like 85 to 90. Okay. And the other one you wanted to check was GDX. I didn't really give a level. I don't really give levels there because we don't trade it. But 31 to 32. I mean, it's pretty tight. I mean, the GDX is more for the investor type, not the trader type. Okay. Trade. I mean, like the whole range is 29 to or 30 to 35, anyways. Okay.
Yeah, if you're going to trade this thing, you're better off trading in UGT.
Right. Blink, Bravo, Lima, November, Kilo. Oops. It'd be nice if I typed the right letters in there. Wow. I mean, this looks pretty pathetic. I mean, look, obviously it's in a downtrend. I mean, what are they? What do they do? Not that I really care, but I mean, certainly, It looks like it could be forcing or building a bottom here. Okay. What do they do? If I knew, I might be able to give you more insight, but from a straight technical standpoint, it looks like it wants to go lower. And if it doesn't hold, 26, it's probably going lower. Okay. eBay, Echo Bravo, which you haven't looked at this for years. Echo Bravo Alpha Yankee. I mean, it looks like it bounced off some low 63. That was a new recent low, and you're now at some resistance. I would suggest, I don't trade this, but if I did, I'd be looking to sell it right now. I'd be a seller at 68 if I traded it. I do not trade it. Okay. And will not trade it just because it's not enough for me, but I certainly would be a seller at 68 right now. Okay. GT. Oh, this is the Bitcoin that the captain gave me that I couldn't get in because nobody let me buy it. This is the whatchamacallit. Oh, this is Green Thumb. I'm sorry. This is not. I was thinking the other thing. I mean, look, I don't know. This doesn't look very good either. This looks like the rest of the pot crap. Okay. It looks like they wanted them all good busted. Okay. Electric cars. Okay. Well, it could be good. Alpha Foxtrot Romeo Michael. Alpha Foxtrot Romeo Michael. I mean, it doesn't look very good either. I mean, look, this looks, now what's amazing, and what you want to remember, look, we don't guess or predict. Okay. We use our algorithms, but when you start to look through the tape and through different stocks, the markets are being driven by the very few. They're not being, this is not a mass rally of all equities. This is a very pointed few rally. Okay. What do you think about that, Andy?
Yeah. Could you just repeat that? I'm sorry.
No problem.
Repeat it.
I just said that the rally is really only in a few stocks. If you look at the general tape.
Yeah. I'm sorry, because I read that comment too. I wasn't sure what you were referring to. Yeah, it's telling. You would rather see a broad, if it's going to rally, you'd rather see a broad spectrum of stocks all moving higher. But the market's been like this for a while. The FANG stocks dominated the NASDAQ for a long time, and it's just kind of the way this is going. And with money flowing into these funds, a lot of capital flowing into these funds, a lot of the allocations, it comes down to the fund managers, and that's where all the action is. So that's kind of how I read that.
Yeah, I mean, again, and somebody asked me to look at BTU earlier, Bravo Tango Uniform, which is Peabody Energy.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, look, it's $10. I mean, I don't know. I mean, coal, is there still a world shortage in coal?
Well, the Chinese dumped a lot of coal, which took the price from, record high down, halved it, in the fourth quarter. Listen, coal is here. India and China are not going to stop using coal.
They're never going to stop using it unless they find
but a lot of the world is stopping producing it. So, for a U.S. coal, I'd rather have money in a coal company that's in another jurisdiction than the U.S.
Right. Until they find a cheaper source of energy, they never stop using coal. Okay. And that's 36% of the world. Onion, actually, it's not onion. Oscar November. Now, this is a new issue. On holding. What do they hold? What is their company? Okay. I mean, the stock doesn't look bad. I mean, certainly 36 looks like a pretty good level to get involved with. I suspect to be some resistance around 40, which you can see what happened today. Okay, but it looks pretty good overall. I don't know what they do, but certainly
semiconductors.
Okay. I mean, it certainly, that's a good space. Okay. This is a new issue, right? It's a year or so. All right. No, 20. I'm sorry. This is like 3 months, September 20th. So it looks okay.
Listen, the demand for semiconductors tells us that, that sector is going to have a comeback in 2022. Listen, we had a lot of problems with it in 2021. I expect that semiconductors will do a lot better in 2022.
And lastly, for the captain who keeps telling us to buy the dip in AAL, as I said, sir, enjoy it, buy it. I got no interest. I don't think that the travel industry is ever coming back to what it was. I just don't see businesses laying out that kind of money to travel anymore. So we'll see. I hope you're right. For your sake, I hope you're right. But if I look at this, I look at this as a blow off to the upside. And if it was more than $18 or whatever it is, I'd be selling it. Okay. That's the way I look at it. In the meantime, welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. Andy, thank you so much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And we will see you back here. Oh, Hut. I got to look at one more. Hut. Is that Pizza Hut? A Hut mine. I mean, this is like a penny stock, right? 777.
What are they mining for? What are they mining for?
I hope we're money. What are they mining for? You know? Because I don't know.
I don't know either. I haven't heard of it.
I'm sure I'll give me a second, give me an answer.
I'm just interested.
And then I'll look at Amazon. Thank you, sir. Amazon. Alpha.
Oh, they're mining for Bitcoin. Okay.
Okay. And then I would like that a little better.
Yeah.
Go back to that minute. Amazon looks pretty bad, actually. I mean,
I would have liked it better if it was copper, but Bitcoin's good too.
I mean, this is, it looks like to me it held some support, let's say 3,300. Look, I don't trade this. It's just too damn big. But, I'd say that, for me, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere right now, and it could go either side from here. Try to test the bottoms. It looks like it wants to rally. Now, again, remember, all these retail sales from Christmas and all that stuff. I don't know what's going to happen, and plus the fact that the supply chain is still a big problem. Okay. And I happen to use Amazon a lot for a lot of things that I use all the time. And I'm getting referred out to third-party vendors that they no longer stock those goods, which means if they're starting to run out of goods, everybody's starting to run out, which is a problem.
Right. And their freight costs are big time.
And if you can't sell anything, then you got a problem. Let me just go back from real quickly to Hut. Okay, Hut football tonight, Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you want to gamble on Bitcoin, probably a reasonable play. Okay. Other than that, again, I'm a big believer in Bitcoin, and I own some, but I only own, like I said, I always tell you guys all the time, if it goes to zero tomorrow, I will not lose 1 minute's sleep, nor will I be angry, because I don't have enough in to make it worthwhile. Unless it keeps going up, then it'll be very worthwhile. But I don't have a big percentage of my portfolio there. Okay. So anyways, a happy new year to all of you. And like I said, I believe it's going to be a great year and a big year. So we'll be prepared, and we will see you. I'll see some of you in the morning, but of course, next Monday night, we'll see the rest. And to all of you, have a great night. Andy, thank you as always. And we will see you all next Monday, if not before. Good night, everybody.